Hi everyone, I wanted to do kind of a quick video, the motorcycle in the background, on gardening in a season of pregnancy and motherhood, and just kind of what I've learned along the way, things that I would or would not do again, and kind of what it looks like when you're in the middle of a pregnancy or even a newborn stage or something, how things can just be let go in the garden and you just kind of have to be okay with it. You can only do so much. But that doesn't mean you should not even attempt to do a garden. It just means we need to have different expectations. We're not going to have necessarily the Pinterest looking garden and the perfect aesthetics. Things are going to get away from you, as I will show you shortly. And you're going to also realize maybe you did too much. For me, I think I did too much again, which is my personality type. So I kind of wanted to show you what has worked and hasn't worked during this stage of life for me and in this pregnancy. And then also just in general, what I think needs to change, just to kind of help give encouragement to other moms out there, other people that are struggling for time, for whichever reason, for whatever season you're in currently. So let's take a look at my garden. Someone gave us a free pool and the kids have been enjoying it. The older two are in there right now while the two littles nap. Definitely miss the pool back at the other house, but my garden here is so much nicer. So my garden here is about 2,400 square feet. Not quite including our little in-ground bed over here that we've added and what we plan on adding, but it's roughly about 2,400 square feet. We have 8 of these 4x12 wood raised beds, and we have 2 3x6 of these metal beds. We have a green stock, and then we have over here a 2x8 fully raised bed that is not on level ground and probably a hazard. Back here we have a bunch of smart pots with berries and things like that. So for some reason I decided to plant fennel, which is this lovely ginormous plant, and I originally had even another one over here. I don't really know what to do with fennel other than cooking with the bulb here and there or using the seeds medicinally. So I've just kind of let it go, and up until probably a day or so ago it's been teeming with pollinators. But I just feel like this was a big, huge space used up that I definitely don't have a full need for. So I could have gone without this, or I should have put it in a little pot. One of my biggest issues from last year and even into this year is my strawberries. I have this whole backside of this 4x12 is just completely taken over the entire bed. My poor asparaguses, which is the next thing I'll talk about, kind of got choked out. Over here is kind of the same thing, although the ground cherries are smothering them out now. But I've been slowly, very slowly, transplanting or removing all of the strawberries in this bed too. So what had happened with the strawberries is I let the runners get away from me last year. In the previous video I had mentioned that we found out, I believe in July last year, 22, that I was pregnant. So the early stages of pregnancy hit me, and then we ended up having a miscarriage, unfortunately. So I wasn't out here nearly enough to get to all those runners. So they've really, really overtaken. I've given runners away. I've thrown them away. I've given to the chickens. Even my dog will eat them. And I just have so many strawberries. I really need to go through and thin them out this year because they are just choking everything out. So the next thing that I would change is the asparaguses. You can see them kind of here and a little bit back there, and over there by the sunflower there's some more ferning out. But it was my ingenious idea to put 10 in the center of these 4 beds and have roughly 40 asparagus plants. Well, I really wish I would have just done 1 bed of asparagus because they're very hard to find. They become very hard to find when stuff starts taking over. So, see, they're in the middle of everything. This one is, I need to harvest, but we had just taken out our spring crop of celery. Didn't do well here. And as you can see, more coming up still. All of these. So putting them in the middle was just not a good idea. But I thought that I was going to be saving space by not allotting just 1 bed to it for a perennial plant. And I really wish I did. This is the tester in-ground bed. We just took out a couple inches, put some gypsum down because it's very clay soil, some fertilizer, and some compost and worm castings. It's the middle of the day right now, so it's a little sad because it's hot, but it's doing pretty well. So this would have saved a bunch of money. As beautiful as I love my raised beds, this is definitely more economical in such a small space. So we do plan on extending this out some. So this is something that I'm happy we have done. I just wish we would have done it sooner. Hopefully I'm not too sunned out, but one of the biggest things that I wish I would have calmed down on a bit this year is the amount of tomato plants I did. I did 40, and I did probably 6 different varieties roughly. So I have 3 full beds of nothing but tomatoes, and I'm swimming in them right now. And with the pregnancy, I am just very tired of preserving tomatoes. We're doing tomato soup, salsas. We did tomato chips yesterday. I've frozen about 15-gallon bags so far, and that's not including the pump buckets we still have, what we've eaten, what we've given just to the chickens or the dog for fun. So I definitely wish I would have calmed down with that. So this is one of the beds that I did, which is with the fennel. Here's another one. As you can see, it's getting kind of hot and the season is starting to dry some of the tomatoes out. We have actually already taken some out. I believe these are the Abe Lincolns or the mortgage lifters, and they are just phenomenal. They're really doing well for us here. I am not a fan of the terracottas. I really just didn't care for them. These are more. They're not my preference. And I apparently did about 5 plants of them. My favorite has been these Bonnie Bests. They're just beautiful, beautiful. The plant isn't looking so great right now, but as you can see, they're pretty nice. What you would expect to find even in a grocery store. I think this is a Abe Lincoln that's blushing. And look at it, it is huge. I mean, people grow bigger tomatoes than this, but for me, that's my biggest that I've grown this so far. There's a bunch. And then the mortgage lifters, I've had a few nice sized ones, but they were usually the ones that were cat face, which just means multiple blossoms. And then a nice thing is our volunteer tomato plant here came in right through there, or came out through there, and has been producing very nicely for us. You can see some of them are sun-scald, but over here, more of the terracottas. And I think these are my Kellogg's, or they're the Dr. Witchies, but they're doing very well. For here we have some beefsteaks, been doing really well. There's that one that just bushed out because I accidentally topped it. So as you can see, I mean, we just have a bunch. We have Amish paste down there, and same over here. More of these lovelies. But you can see, we just have so many. It's just insane. I don't know what I was thinking. So one of the other things that I did in my infinite wisdom that I've mentioned before was I thought I could try to intercrop again with onions and carrots in between these tomatoes. But as you can see, it's pretty dense. Nothing's really grown. This is between one of the beds. You can see I still have some carrots in here that need to come out. And it's like a jungle. Had some, this is the volunteer beds. We had a bunch of volunteer basils. And we have a volunteer squash of some kind that's been vining out. Then over here, I planted onions, as you can see, which have done nothing. And then of course basil. But there's actually onions sprouts, you know, sporadically throughout here. But it's just a hot mess. I do not recommend that. So one of the other things is the amount of peppers that I did. I did probably just as many pepper plants of varying kinds. We just picked a bunch yesterday, thankfully. I mean, it's too much. I don't need that many peppers. I could have utilized this in a much better way. So I think with the peppers, I could have just done a couple varieties and doing a couple different plants of those varieties, because I still have freezer fulls of peppers from last year, and now I'm bucket fulls this year. And then finally, I think my biggest mistake was these berries, planting them in the corners of my raised beds, knowing full well that they spread. So these are, these are golden berries. And I wish I kind of would have done thornless too, but kids got to learn. And I did this in a few of my ends. I have these down here growing too. And then all of these. These are spreading widely. These are the blackberries throughout here in one of my 8-foot smart pots. And I'm just kind of learning to tame them. I need to come in and trim them, especially down in here where the dog likes to lay. But as you can see, they're just kind of wee. And coming up here, I've already had to move some lavender. I'll finish moving all of this shortly. Kind of prepare this bed for just the berries. So this is my favorite tunnel. Even last year it was my favorite little cattle panel tunnel because of these tomatoes, which I absolutely am so glad that someone mentioned that they do their snackers going up a trellis like this. Love it. But my beans, same as last year, basically dried up after being eaten by bugs. So I need to move them next year. That was my biggest problem. These, my snackers, have just overgrown, which is okay. You may have saw earlier they were growing out into the bed, which is here. And that's basically because I didn't have time to keep coming out here and tying them up. So as you can see, it's pretty wild. It's going up everywhere. And hopefully you can see in the rows it's coming out. And then back here is what I was mentioning, how it's just kind of coming all the way out and into this. I may end up having to come and snip some of these off, because this is where I plan on starting like my brassicas and stuff for the fall very shortly. One of the last things that I wish I had more time for this year was herb saving. I basically just ended up letting them all go to seed for the pollinators. I don't know if you can see how beautiful all the bees are in here. There's so many. I hope that somebody found this useful, maybe stir some ideas for yourself. And also I hope it is encouraging to know that it's okay to let things go, especially depending on the season of life that you're in. You know, being pregnant, having a newborn, bunch of littles like I do, things are gonna take more precedent than the garden, unfortunately, and food preservation. So do what you can. Never just don't do anything. You want to always try and see what you can get done, and just, I don't want to say set the bar low, but have different expectations than you would in a different season of life. Just make sure that what you're wanting to do is obtainable and is not going to stress you out. You having fun, Luke? Bounce. Bounce. Tighten. So roughly 2,400 square foot of garden. Family of 6, soon to be 7 in October. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.